It's 7 in the morning on June 4th, 1942. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Tamon Yamaguchi walks across the bridge of the massive Japanese aircraft carrier, Hiryu. Today he has the great honor of commanding two aircraft carriers, the Hiryu and the Soryu. Alongside two other carriers, the Akagi and the Kaga, these four ships form an elite task force known as the Kido Butai. This is a crucial day for Yamaguchi and for the Japanese Navy. Just 2 hours ago, a Japanese force of 108 aircraft was launched to attack the Midway Atoll, a critical US military base in an ambitious operation. Yamaguchi's restless pacing is interrupted by the Hiryu's captain, Tomeo Kaku, with an urgent message from his superior and operation chief, Admiral Nagumo. "We failed to destroy important targets on the island." The alarm sounds aboard the Hiryu. The carrier is attacked by American aircraft flying from the still operational Midway base. They are spotted, and Zero fighters quickly arrive to intercept the Americans. They savagely cut down the American torpedo bombers that lack fighter escorts to keep them safe. Some American aircraft still manage to launch attacks. Torpedoes to starboard. But the gods are with the Japanese. They narrowly miss the Hiryu and the others in the Kido Butai. There will be a second attack on Midway Islands. Prepare the reserve aircraft to attack Midway. Sir, the planes are armed with armor-piercing bombs and torpedoes for American ships. We'll have to change the bombs for ground targets. Do it. Yes, sir. The sailors frantically begin rearming the aircraft. After half an hour of rearming, they barely manage to change bombs on only half the planes, leaving the Kido Butai unfit to attack enemy ships. And with the Japanese hangars full of explosives, they become especially vulnerable to bombing attacks. It's exactly at this moment that Yamaguchi receives the news that confirms his worst fears. "Sir, the reconnaissance plane. It spots what appear to be 10 enemy surface units. Although they can't say specifically what types of vessels they are, any naval presence is a threat and cause for immediate alarm. An order comes from Nagumo. Postpone the second attack. Leave the torpedoes on aircraft that haven't been changed to bombs yet. Precious time has been wasted, and now they're caught between two strategies. Stop rearming, prepare to attack the ships." Meanwhile, planes from Midway keep coming. Japanese anti-aircraft guns fire at the attackers. The impressive stopping power of the Japanese defense does its grim work. American planes fall one after another. The Americans, however, are relentless, and the Hiryu is nearly hit. "That was close." Yamaguchi grows increasingly impatient with Admiral Nagumo. Why aren't the other carriers launching an attack while Hiryu deals with the bombers? Send a message to Nagumo. Consider it advisable to launch an attack force immediately. But there's no time to launch. The Japanese planes that attacked Midway earlier arrive and need to land immediately. For half an hour, the Kido Butai performs the meticulous and time-consuming effort of recovering all returning aircraft. Meanwhile, Yamaguchi can barely maintain his composure. The last plane stops abruptly. More American bombers. Swarms of American torpedo bombers appear over the water, heading straight for the Kido Butai. And these are different from the Army Air Force planes from before. It's not just American surface ships they're facing. These are aircraft carriers. The US Naval Air Force has found them. The Zeros in the air spring into action. "Hurry, go! We have to stop them before they launch torpedoes." The Zeros dive and chase after the slow and vulnerable American torpedo bombers. The skill of the Zero pilots is unquestionable. They fired their guns, and American planes were shot down in droves. Yamaguchi watches the distant splashes as the American torpedo bombers fall. But in the lead there are still bombers flying. They get closer and closer and somehow, through the whirlwind, manage to launch their torpedoes. The deadly cargo slides silently beneath the blue waves. Aboard the Hiryu, 5 tracks are spotted approaching from the starboard side. A group of US aircraft. The Japanese fighter escort goes out to attack and stays behind, leaving the bombers unprotected. At 11:55, Kobayashi spots the American fleet about 40 kilometers away. He takes his 18 dive bombers into a climb to gain altitude. The Japanese planes fly in 2 groups of 9, one slightly above the other, ready to attack. Just as 12 American Wildcat fighters enter the scene, the first group of Japanese bombers is attacked by 5 Wildcats. The other 7 Wildcats attack the second group of Japanese head-on. Without the fighter escort, this soon becomes a massacre as Japanese planes quickly fall from the sky. By the time 4 Zero fighters from the escort catch up with them, the damage is already done. Only 10 VALs remain, 2 of which dropped their bombs during the confusion to maneuver. A desperate Lieutenant Kobayashi spots an American aircraft carrier below. It's the USS Yorktown. Despite the casualties, he's determined and signals to begin the attack. The 8 armed aircraft split into 2 groups, ready to dive. One group of 3 heads east, and the other group of 5 circles to approach from the sun. Anti-aircraft fire snakes toward the Japanese, as the ship's gunners throw everything they have at the attackers. The bravery of the Japanese pilots is unquestionable, and they push forward. Bombs are dropped. Lieutenant Kobayashi is last seen in the middle of the action at Yorktown when his VAL is hit and falls. And then 2 more suffer the same fate. But 3 consecutive bombs hit Yorktown directly. The first bomb penetrates the hangar deck. The second falls near the island in the middle of the ship. The last hits the elevator and detonates deep in its hull. The 5 remaining VALs return home. By the end of the attack, Hiryu's dive bomber unit was destroyed. 13 of the 18 VALs were shot down, with 3 Zero fighters also lost. Despite the losses, the attack was not in vain. 1 American carrier disabled. From reconnaissance aircraft reports, Yamaguchi is aware he's facing 3 American carriers. 1 down, 2 to go. He calls Lieutenant Joichi Tomonaga, who originally led the morning attack on Midway. Tomonaga, we destroyed 1 carrier. Our elite pilots and leadership have demonstrated that despite everything, perhaps the situation can be salvaged. It's up to you to lead the second attack and bring glory to our nation. Tomonaga's plane was damaged during the morning attack and was technically considered unusable. Hiryu's technicians fix everything as best they can, but the fuel tanks are leaking badly. Sir, please let me switch planes with you. The Yankees are only 145 kilometers away. I can go and come back on a single tank of fuel. He solemnly climbs into his damaged plane, knowing this is destined to be a one-way mission. After an hour of flight, Tomonaga spots the U.S. carrier task force about 56 kilometers away with an apparently intact carrier. Tomonaga has no idea this is actually the previously damaged Yorktown. He immediately orders an attack. Attack the primary target. The Japanese begin a gentle dive from altitude. Tomonaga divides his force into 2 groups of 5. Each group will go ahead of the target and conduct an anvil attack. Tomonaga brings his plane closer and closer to Yorktown, eager to hit it. But before getting close enough, an American Wildcat intercepts him from behind and opens fire. Tomonaga's Kate catches fire, but with determination and skill, he keeps the burning plane level long enough to launch his torpedo. He's shot down and falls into the water. The last thing he sees is the trail of his torpedo. His torpedo doesn't hit the target. Neither do the 2 others launched by his section of 4 wings. All of them are shot down by fighters or anti-aircraft fire. The damaged Yorktown turns as fast as it can, but as it does so, the second force of 5 planes advances toward the port bow. One of the torpedo plane's launch system fails, and 4 torpedoes are launched. They advance toward the desperately maneuvering ship. 2 devastating explosions hit the port side, and the ship immediately stops and lists 23 degrees. Their work is done. The surviving planes return to Hiryu. Despite heavy losses, interrogation of surviving pilots gives Yamaguchi reasons for encouragement. Yamaguchi believes he has disabled a 2nd American carrier, and he plans a 3rd attack for 6 in the evening. But before he can put his plan into action, Yamaguchi's optimism is shaken. At 3:50 in the afternoon, a Japanese reconnaissance plane radios that 2 other American carriers are operating in another large task force located northwest, about 190 kilometers from Hiryu. It won't be long before this task force launches its aircraft, if it hasn't already. Yamaguchi's worst fears come true just over an hour later, at 5 o'clock. 24 American aircraft appear high above. 6 dauntless bombers dive on Hiryu, but the ship turns sharply to port. Japanese gunners fire their weapons, and all enemy aircraft fail to hit. Soon 14 more dive bombers turn toward Hiryu. The Hiryu is filled with white water jets as it turns violently. 2 bombs hit its forward command cabin. Yamaguchi looks up and sees a final group of 3 beginning their dives. In a matter of seconds, 2 more bombs hit Hiryu's forward command cabin, creating a deep crater. The fires are now out of control, and the last hopes of Yamaguchi's attack are burning in the hangars. At 9:23 in the evening, the ship sinks into the water, but with Yamaguchi still aboard. Darkness envelops the flaming ocean. At 2:30 in the morning, about 800 survivors gather around Yamaguchi under the flickering light of the burning ship. I am totally and solely responsible for the loss of Hiryu and Soryu. I will remain aboard until the end. I order all of you to leave the ship and continue your loyal service to His Majesty the Emperor. With that, the men turn toward Tokyo. Banzai, banzai! Banzai, the national flag is then lowered. As the rising sun descends from the mast, a group of buglers play through the night, playing the national anthem, Kimigayo. Yamaguchi asks that 2 messages be transmitted. The first to Admiral Nagumo. I have no words to apologize for what happened. I wish only for a stronger Japanese Navy and revenge. The second message goes to Captain Toshio Abe, commanding Destroyer Division 10 on the flagship Kazagumo. Sink the Hiryu with your torpedoes. Captain Kaku chose to share the ship's fate, despite Yamaguchi's order. The admiral understood and did not protest. At 5:10 in the morning, the destroyer Makigumo fires 2 torpedoes. One misses, the other explodes with a bang. The aircraft carrier finally sinks at 9:12. Admiral Tamon Yamaguchi sank with his ship and was posthumously decorated with the Order of the Golden Kite First Class. Captain Kaku, who stayed with him until the end, was posthumously promoted to Rear Admiral.